But you did it in a very interesting way, is the fact is that in your studies, you found out, hey, there was a lot of religions in the world, and people were very serious about their religions. And so you thought, well, maybe God's got himself revealed somewhere in one of these religions. And so you started pulling out the holy books of the different religions. Again, you were not a Christian, and you just thought you had a certain criteria for what you expected to find the Creator talking if he actually talked in a book. Give us the criteria and then what you did.
Well, I started off by looking at the great philosophers, and particularly Immanuel Kant, because he's called the father of cosmology.
Yeah, and
read
Hume.
his Critique of Pure Reason and says, this doesn't seem to be on target with what I know to be true about the universe. But then I realized more than 90% of the world's population is involved in some serious way with a religion. And all these religions are based on the fact that there's a God that created the universe. So I began to go through these different religions. I started off with the Hindu Vedas, and they basically promote the oscillating universe theory, or what we call the reincarnating universe theory, how the universe goes through these cycles of beginnings and endings. But they got the number wrong. They said that you get a reincarnation of the universe every 4.32 billion years, and we know that the universe in which we live is older than that. And also, there's way too much entropy in the universe to permit any kind of rebound. So I put Hinduism aside, then I looked at Buddhism, looked at Islam, looked at Zoroastrianism, Baha'i, looked at a number of different faiths, and finally I picked up a Bible that was given to me in a public school. The Gideons at that time were allowed to come into public schools and give Bibles to the students. So I had one of those Gideon Bibles.
Okay, so you picked it up and you looked at the first page, and what happened?
The first page blew me away. It's the account of creation, and it's a chronological account of creation, Genesis 1. And I'd been steeped in the scientific method all 12 years of my public school education. I was taught to always apply the scientific method to everything I analyzed. When I looked at Genesis 1, what stunned me is that it perfectly followed the scientific method. Now, I was naive. I didn't realize where the scientific method came from. 9 years later, I discovered, well, it comes from Scripture and from Reformed theology. But I applied that scientific method and realized everything described in Genesis 1 is in the correct chronological order, and everything is correctly described. The best I'd found in all my search of the other religious texts was one account that got 2 out of 14 right. The Bible got a perfect score.